Good afternoon. This is Rosie Barrett for Abolition News Network, August 15th, 1875, in Macon, Georgia, about to talk to one of the tenant farmers at his home about his success of tenant farming, or sharecropping, as it has been nicknamed. Welcome, Joel Toad. Mr. Toad, can I call you Joel?
Yeah, certainly.
The name sharecropping may seem to our listeners to sound like a pretty good economic plan for you and your family compared to life before the Civil War. Tell us what the name or its definition is technically.
Well, you see, tenant farming, or sharecropping as it's been come to be known, is kind of deceiving in as much as we as farmers are to work the land of the landowner, and we plant the crops. And then at the end of the season, when we harvest them, we're supposed to get half of the profits.
Well, isn't that a good thing? Fair and legal?
See, you would think that. However, see, besides the crops, see, you have to understand, I have to buy all of my own supplies. Anything else that I need besides what we're planting has to come from the company store, and I'm getting it all on credit.
So, it still sounds fair. Do you make a lot of money?
Once again, no, I don't make a lot of money. I mean, everything else. See, we were promised 40 acres and a mule by General William T. Sherman under Order 15, passed on January 16th, 1865. I mean, I don't have 40 acres. I ended up here with my family on 20 acres of a turnip plantation and everything. And I mean everything besides what we plant has to be bought from the company store. So we're just left up to that, you know.
Well, you still come out with half minus your expenses, almost as much as Mr. Crimshanks, yes?
No, once again, see, thing is, Mr. Crimshank, he owns the company store. So, I mean, when I say supplies, I mean everything. I'm talking sardines, sugar, if I need clothing or dresses for the gals and my wife here. It's all on credit. And so, at the end of the year, he takes that and yeah, it's not the way that it should be.
That's dreadful. But Mr. Crimshanks loses too, doesn't he?
Well, see, you know, he would lose. Like you would think that he would lose. Like let's say, for instance, the crop fails, or we got bad weather, or anything like that. He still makes a profit. He still makes a profit. It's more profitable for him to run the company store than it is to rent the land or anything else to us.
All right, so I think I get it. You don't get rich, but what about fringe benefits? Since slavery is gone, life must be nicer, right?
See, you have to understand, I mean, even though I'm not a slave, my dream of owning my own piece of land, you know, or anything else like that, it's a broken promise. See, the Freedom Bureau and William T. Sherman, they said that we would have a piece of our own land. We'd be able to erect a house and you know, plant whatever it is that we want to plant, and you know, that'd be all fine and dandy if that was the case. However, you know, I got more worries than I do even beforehand. Like let's say, for instance, I get sick, or the girls get sick, heaven forbid. If he, you know, beforehand, he was the overseer, you know, and he's got no physical responsibility for us if we were to get sick or if we need to go see a doctor.
But at least you're not slaves, isn't that so?
Yeah, I mean, we're not slaves. However, like I said, my dream of ever owning my own piece of land, it's just a dream. And yeah, I don't know if that'll ever come to be, really.
Mr. Toad, it now seems to me after listening to your list of complaints about the sharecropping system and Mr. Crimshank's, there are still some aspects of slavery that you miss or would like to have continue. There are no such things today as workers' benefits or life and medical insurance. If you want freedom from everyone, take what you have now and run with it. Is there anything else you want to say in conclusion about sharecropping that we should know?
Well, yes, there is. See, another thing you have to understand is that I'm unable to own a firearm if I want to indulge in alcohol or anything else like that, or if I even say any speech that's objectionable to Mr. Crimshank. It could cost me $1. It would forfeit me a day's wages if I were to have that happen. And the only thing that has changed since slavery is self-government. See, if I want to, pull up and move on to another plantation, I can do that. And before emancipation, that was inconceivable.
Sweetie pie.
Yes.
That wish is not going to happen. Mr. Crimshank left a note in the mailbox, and he said with the high price of fertilizer and the food that we purchased, we're going to be in debt to him $1,000 by the end of the year. So say goodbye to turnips, and we're going to have to go back to planting tobacco and cotton next year.
Honey, why don't we try something else? How about this? We could cultivate horse manure, and then we could sell that as fertilizer. How about that?
If that's what you want, dear, I guess I'll tell our children that we'll support them by selling horse manure. You two stop that! I am not. You're going to have to take a bath now. Shame on you. Behave. What are you doing? No, stop it. That's it. You're getting a whooping. No, I'm not. Don't you talk back.
So it's not goodbye to Mr. Crimshanks yet. You and Mrs. Toad will have to downgrade to a new low standard of living. That's the life of a sharecropper. This is Rosie Barrett for ANN. At the bottom rung of society in the South, 10 years after the end of the Civil War, saying things can only get better.
Sharecropping expanded from the 19th century into the 20th century and reached a peak in the 1930s during the Great Depression, with about 2 million people living at the poverty level, with little to show for a year's worth of labor, slaving on the farm for their landowner. It might as well be called slavery. 2/3 of them were white, but in the low-status areas of Georgia and South Carolina, the percentage was about 50-50, white and black.